Why do retirees love Capcut? I'm here to show you. This is part 2. Let's go. Okay, so we're here on our home screen. I've imported a couple of clips that we can mess around with. So we're only going to be doing 2 things today. One of the things that we're going to start concentrating on is this area up here. All these different buttons that have control over different elements of our video. We're going to go over each one of those in succession. And today we're going to start with text up there. We're going to be working with text. But before we start that, I want to go way over here to shortcuts, and we're going to click on that. Now what this has opened up is a whole listing of different shortcuts that you can do with your keyboard to do frequently used tasks within Capcut. We've already seen a couple of these in the first video on Capcut. We saw that we could do Command B to split a clip so that we could separate it into 2 pieces, move it around, etc., delete things, all that good stuff. But Control B we've seen. And we're not going to go over all of these. We're going to go over the ones that you're going to use all the time. Now, if you recall in the first video, we talked about being able to change the arrow from an arrow to a razor blade, and the arrow would be our select tool and the razor blade would be our cut tool. Okay, so going back and forth to that, we had to move our arrow and go over to the arrow and click it and select what we wanted to do. A little time consuming. Now all we have to do is hit, if we want to cut something, we hit the B, and that will, let me go out and show you this. I'm going to pull the clip down into the timeline and put my cursor right there, and if I hit B on my keyboard, now you see the razor blade is there, and all I have to do is go there and cut it, and now I've got, well, I've cut it probably a dozen times here. So now I can hit A. A is going to send it back to the select tool, the arrow. And now I can remove that. I can take this piece out from the middle, put it at the end. I can take it back and put it back where it was. So A and B. A is going to get you to your select tool, so you can move things around and move where the cursor is and so forth. And B is going to take you to your razor blade where you can cut things, okay? Let's go back to shortcuts. So A and B, we're going to go down a little bit. You can turn on and off snapping. Remember the snapping to taking a clip, so it'll go right back to a split point and align itself perfectly. You can go there by doing N, you can turn it off. Zoom in and zoom out. Let's go look at those. This is kind of fun. So on my MacBook, we're going to do Command and plus. And you see how it's getting bigger? If I hit minus, it'll go the other way. So this is a quick way to zoom in and see what's going on in very, very close detail. Very important feature. You'll use this quite a bit. All right, back to shortcuts. Another one that would be very useful. We already learned these next 2, the in point and the out point. When we're cutting something, even before we put it into the timeline and we're just viewing it up in the viewing screen, we can select where we want it to start and where we want that clip to end, and then when we put the clip in, it'll just put in what we already edited down in the viewer. So gives you a little less work to do in the timeline. But I/O, those are very, very helpful. Group, this can be hugely helpful. So let's go out, and this is going to be Command G. So if I wanted to do something collectively to all 3 of these clips, if I select a clip, hit Command G, Now I have selected all of them together. And now I can move them as a unit. I can apply a effect to all of them, or an adjustment to all of them if I was adjusting my exposure and it was consistent throughout the entire video, but I've already hit it and clipped it up. Well, I can select them all as one group and apply that effect, adjustment, or these types of things to the entirety of the clips that I've selected. All right, so now these are all grouped together. Now, if I select any one of these clips, this is still going to move as a group. But if I hit Command, the up arrow, and G, and now I can move that one separately. You see how that worked? Okay. Now, if I go back, they're still linked. They can still move together. But if I double click, that's going to be able to be moved separately. Okay? Hugely important feature. You're gonna have once you've done some editing and you're well into the editing process of finishing a particular project, what you're going to find is that maybe you want to make a change to a whole series of clips that you've cut up. So instead of having to go to each one of those clips, making that change to each one individually, sometimes having a nuanced operation that would require really precisely changing each clip to a very specific setting, it's very hard, virtually impossible. So group the clips together, and now you can work with them as if they have not been separated. Okay? So that's grouping. Let's go back to shortcuts. After group and ungroup, you have these volume buttons at the bottom. This is the last one I'm going to be discussing for today. You can get into these. These are all shortcuts on your keyboard that are going to make your workflow so much faster, so much easier. It's going to be hard to believe. So you're going to want to at least, and you don't have to memorize them all at one time and just get them in your head. Relax. Do a couple. Get those into your workflow so that they're automatic and easy and you absolutely know how to use those keyboard shortcuts. And then hit shortcuts and add a couple more. Learn a couple of more. We've already done that. Command B to cut. I and O for in point and out point on a clip before you put it in the timeline. Not too bad. We got some really, really useful ones. Another one that we have is our space bar, which is not shown here. On the space bar, you can hit it and it'll pause the video, hit it again, it'll start it again. Now there are other shortcuts for other features, copy. These are really, really important. Command C to copy something, Command X to cut it. Now we've been using delete for the most part, and I'll probably continue to do that, but this is another option. Paste something back in is Command V. So you can go over these in the basics section. There are shortcuts for making your video full screen and exiting full screen. I'm going to recommend you concentrate on timeline and basic and start playing with those and gradually add one or two shortcuts into your workflow, and you're going to be amazed how much faster you get when you start incorporating some of these very easy shortcuts. Okay, so that's our shortcut discussion. Now we're going to move to one of our first encounters with this top layer of buttons. And what we're going to concentrate on today is text. Now, text, I'm going to break this up into three groups. Static text, that means it's not moving, it's just on the screen. Motion text, how to make it move in different ways. And these templates that you see at the bottom that are already there for you, there are a bunch of them, and some of them are great fun. They can do wonderful things for you. So they're very useful. But before we get into the templates and see how useful they can be, there are lots of templates and template ideas built into Capcut. But we're just dealing with text today. But first we want to go to default. Default text is going to allow us to, let's put our cursor somewhere and decide that we want text right there. And you're going to drag that into your timeline, okay? Now this is going to allow you to do text. And when you look up here, all kinds of options are available to you for text. First thing we want to do is put something in there and say something. So we're just going to call this test video. That's going to be our text. Now the first thing I want you to know is that once you put this in, we can move it. Just hold your cursor down and you can pull it wherever you want it to be. We've decided we want it in this top left empty corner. So that's the first thing we can do. Second thing we can do is we can make it bigger, a lot bigger, and a lot smaller. Okay, so you can just dial that in. You can make it wider. If you needed to accommodate more letters on a single line, that could be very useful. The corners will keep its relative ratio, but just make it bigger. So we've already been able to reposition it. Now we've been able to resize it. Here's some other things we can do. The font is just the way the letters look. And when we look at this, there's a bazillion of them. Okay, there's a lot of fonts that we can pick from. Next, the font size. How big is it? Look at this. It doesn't even fit in the box hardly anymore. So we can make this many different sizes. Now, if we wanted to watch this, as I increase the size of the font, it goes to 2 lines because the box is not wide enough to accommodate it in 1 line. That's where this box right here, the straight line box, could be helpful. If we do that, now I can increase the font size without taking it to that second line yet. Okay, you see the difference? So we're gonna mash it down again. Here we go. Get it down to there. And we're gonna reduce the size of the font again to get it on 1 line. And there we go. And we'll just realign it up in the corner again. Okay. What else can we do? We can pull this down. We can make it bold. It's hard to tell in white. We can underline it. We can put it in italics. Okay. Uppercase, lowercase, both cases, like we had it initially. And now we can get to color. Now in color, you can do, oh my gosh, anything you want. So let's say we wanted something in the blue pattern. We can start playing with different blues in the blue category. All kinds of different blues. You think you want more of a red? This will give you red options. Spacing will determine the distance between characters and between lines. So if we go to character and we change the spacing, you can see that these letters are getting separated. You can do that. Or you could, if we had a 2-line masterpiece here, which this would create, now we can make the distance between the lines wider. See it? Okay. So that's what these are doing. Okay. We're going to open this back up so it's a straight line again. There you go. Alignment can put your phrase to the left, to the right, to the middle. This is the alignment. Moving down further. I'm going to skip transform and scale right now. We're going to get to that on another video. That's going to be a video about keyframes. Keyframes are an incredibly powerful thing on this editor and on all editors. It's super easy to use, but you've got to get the concept of what it's doing so that you can understand how to use it. I have used multiple editors in my lifetime. It wasn't until Capcut that the whole idea of keyframes suddenly clicked in, and I was like, oh, wow! It's fun. We're going to get to keyframes as a completely separate video because it's that important. So we're going to leave that alone for now. Opacity. If you look at the test video letters, if I take opacity and I start bringing it down, you're going to see those letters start to fade out all the way to nothing, and they're gone. That can be very helpful in multiple different ways. Just remember for now that it's there. The rest of this area I'm going to leave alone for now. This is where we're going to leave it for our basic text. Okay? So, there's our text. And if we play that now down on the timeline, we're going to see this.
Is to get a separate microphone and connect it to the camera.
Okay.
So,
not very exciting. Not very exciting. It popped up, popped off. I mean, it brought us the information. You're going to see that you're going to use text in a lot of different ways. You're going to use it to emphasize things, to explain things that maybe you missed in speaking in the video, and you can add extra information on the screen for the viewer. All kinds of different reasons. Titles, openings, all of these things will be vastly improved using text. But what we've done now is we've brought up this text, pops on, pops off. That's it. Can we make it more interesting? I'll bet you that we can. So let's highlight it. We're going to click on it. And again, this whole menu comes up again. We're going to go to Animation. Now, you see it says in. It also says out. The in is going to control what happens when that text first comes on the screen. And we can look at all kinds. Now, when it says Pro up here, that's the paid version. So we're going to stick with these freebies that we can use. I like that. So we're going to take that and we're going to apply it
separate mic
to our test video script. And now it's going to go like
to get
this.
A separate microphone.
Now that came on like that. That came on like that, but it didn't go out in any particular way. So let's go back to it. Now we're going to click Animation, and we're going to click Out. And we're going to do the same thing again. Okay? So now let's look at it. Clicks on like that, sweeps on, ooh, and sweeps out. What if you don't like that? All right, let's get rid of that one. So now it doesn't do that, it just clicks off. So now we're going to go back, highlight it again, hit the animation, hit the out button. What else do we like? Yeah, let's do this one. Okay, so now let's watch it. Flick. Whoa, there it goes. All right, so adding a little bit of motion, animation, to your text can be very powerful, can really make a big difference in your videos. So don't forget you can animate. So what have we been able to do with our text? We've been able to reposition it. We've been able to resize it in different ways. We've been able to make it multiple lines or one straight line, and we can extend the length of it, contract it, force it to make lines. We can choose to make lines by hitting our return button. We'll put it into another line when you're entering your text. So put it on the screen, position it, size it, color it, change the font. Oh my gosh, we've done a lot. And now we've been able to make it move. Later on, when we get to keyframes, we're going to be able to see how we can move this text all over the screen and make it really alive. But for right now, what I want to do, we're going to hit this again. Just keep in mind that you have animation, and there are a lot of free options on here. There's a pro, but there's a freebie. There's another freebie, another one, another one. You do not have to pay for Capcut. You can do some terrific videos on the free version. So don't be too tempted to jump in and do that, because you don't really have to. That's where we're going to stop today. So what have we done? We've gotten shortcuts, and we found out how to get around a whole lot faster on our keyboard than we would by having to use a mouse or the mouse pad that's on your computer. Shortcuts are really helpful. They really speed up your workflow. Then we turned our way to text, and we've learned how to put text onto the timeline, select an area that we want to put our text in, put any kind of text that we want to. We can color it, we can size it, we can do different fonts, different styles, all kinds of things. And then we can make it move. We can make it enter with a flash, exit with panache. That's what we did today. So if you got some use out of this, leave me a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe to the video. More coming. This is part 2. There are more parts to this, so stay tuned. You're well on your way to becoming an older creator editor. Until next time, I'll see you.